on episode 10 of the IQ podcast, and today's kind of a special episode, actually. Um, we're going to be, as you can see, we have a guest, Earthbound Isles, joining us.
Hello.
Our topic today is going to be about relationships on stream, like if you're streaming with a partner, friends, that kind of stuff, and your relationships with people off stream and how streaming can how it plays a role impacting those relationships. So quite a deep topic today. Right? So I think we're going to start off in the section where we let's just do a quick introduction of Earthbound so that people know. Earthbound and Pickles co-stream together, so they're and they've been through kind of an evolution with that as well, where they streamed separately and together on two different channels. Where
Too complicated.
Yeah. I've been there. I've experienced doing that with my ex. So you guys are gonna have some insight on what it's like to be in a relationship, and how streaming has an impact on that, and how you guys deal with certain things. So,
Yes.
the first section we're going to talk about, though, is we're going to save that as the second half of the podcast. The first half, we're going to talk more about just generally being a streamer and how it impacts just your relationships outside of stream. I'm sure, as most people, they have a lot of experience one way or the other where somebody is like unhappy that you're streaming. Does anybody have that, where they have a person that like they're confused about your stream and like, or maybe unhappy that you're a streamer? Does anybody have experience with that?
Confused? My mom.
Okay.
She's definitely confused.
So it's not like super positive. It's like a
But
somewhat
she's, like-
negative thing, right?
I think she's supportive, though.
She's supportive. She just doesn't get it at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
I don't know. Like she doesn't know like how any of it
Did
works.
that
Like,
evolve?
She's computer illiterate, but she trusts that I'm not like. She just trusts me.
You're not doing weird stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, like once when I told her like, oh, we're eating Bean Boozled beans for money, she's like, oh no, don't do anything bad to yourself for money. That's bad.
You're like, it's not that
I'm like,
bad.
no, it's just hot beans. It's fine.
They're
I
jelly
mean, I
beans.
agree with
Yeah.
her. I agree with your mom. Don't get diabetes for stream.
It doesn't happen too often.
It could
You don't
though.
does
get
happen.
diabetes too often?
Yeah, I don't get diabetes very often.
Moms might be a pretty common thread in people's lives for being maybe somewhat negative towards streaming. I've experienced with that myself. I find that the older generation and their friends, they just don't get it, and because they don't get it, and I don't know what there is to totally get, it's like immediately negative, which is I don't know. I don't. Maybe that's just that their generation, that things they don't understand or know about are automatically like put in the category of, well, that's got to be bad because I don't get it, rather than I don't understand. Please help me understand. You would hope most people would have an I don't understand. Please help me understand attitude. It doesn't seem to be the case most of the time. So, has your relationship with your mom, did it develop from like she's understanding better, and that's what's made her more comfortable with it?
I mean, she's kind of just like accepted that she's not gonna understand the internet, so she like kind of threw up her hands and was like, I trust you both. I know that you guys take care of yourselves, and you're not gonna be wasting time or money doing anything that
you
would
don't
be a
wanna
waste
do.
of time and money.
Yeah.
So she supports. I mean, she supports us. She knows
That's good.
that we're smart about it.
So you don't have anybody in your life that is like discouraging you from streaming? Just curious.
No,
That's good.
I don't think so.
What about you, Meats?
I don't actually have a lot to add to this conversation because I don't really talk about streaming to anybody outside of like very close people. Like my
So
mom
you
doesn't
don't
even.
tell people.
But number one, yeah. So
So
I have to be
that's
really
one way
thoughtful
of
about
dealing
my
with this
job.
relationship, though. That's one way of like dealing with the relationship. You're like avoiding it in a way, which can be
yeah,
smart.
I mean, I don't hide it if it comes up, right? But I don't talk like because I have a fairly like conservative day job, you know, so I have to actually report that I do this to them, which is weird. But no one really looks into it, and I don't really talk about it. My mom doesn't get it at all, so I don't even really put energy into it. She trusts me. We have that relationship where she knows that I'm a responsible human being, so you know, it doesn't really come up all that often, which is probably a good thing because it is kind of weird to explain.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
true. This is not an easy thing to describe. It's easier to just say like YouTube, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
pretty
sure.
much.
People definitely know what that means.
Yeah. I make
Yeah.
YouTube content. So if you make like one YouTube video a month, it's easier to just be like, yeah, I like to make YouTube. So, I mean, I guess there's some ways to think about approaching this. If people are, I would just say don't let people like poo-poo all over what you're trying to do. If you enjoy streaming, just enjoy it, and you know, just don't talk about that. Maybe it's a good idea to just not bring it up, not talk about it too much, and that can be hard though, because if you're some people they slowly become like full time, and they start adding it. It becomes a bigger part of their life. So I don't know. I don't even know how you would deal
Well, I
with that.
mean, when I did start streaming, I did have a friend who was like very concerned for some reason. Like he was pretty. I don't know. Like he thought I should get like a normal job and focus on like saving money and buying a house and this and that and whatever. But he also was like weird about me getting a dog. So I don't know.
He's just a very tentative person.
Yeah.
Also, I think it's combined with the fact that he knows both of us. So I think he was concerned with only having one, like, secure source of income for the two of us. Like, he would prefer that we both share that load, but I don't care. And I've told him that I don't care. So I think it's coming from a
It's
place
from a
of
place,
kindness,
yeah.
but like not needed.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
It's like a weird sense of ownership and also projection. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
for
just
sure.
a little odd, but
Yeah.
But also,
That's
like,
fine,
if you
though.
have people in your life that are really against it, it's a time to consider, you know, who those people are and if they're good people for your life too, right?
Yeah. That can be rough if
Because,
they're
like, why do
in-laws or
they-
something, though.
Yeah, that's true.
You have no choice, right? Yeah, friends. Friends is actually the next kind of part of the topic I was going to talk about, because I've had friends. I was when I first started streaming on Twitch, I was like singing improv. I was grabbing my guitar and I was singing improv songs to trolls in the audience and stuff, and having a good time just like playing music. And I had a friend that was like, "Why Twitch?" That was his whole thing. Like, "Why Twitch? You could do anything else. Why Twitch?" He just like hated Twitch. So that became, I don't know. It's hard. It was hard for me personally to like digest having a friend. Like, I'm like, you should come and hang out and like see what it's like. And he was just like totally against that. And it makes you wonder. I never really got that. I never really got the hate against Twitch. I get when people don't understand, like older generation people don't get the internet or whatever, and like that makes sense to me. But when it's a younger person or a person who's like my age and they're just like vehemently against Twitch, it can be rough. It can be mentally like exhausting to feel like you need to defend yourself against something that you're enjoying doing. It's like trying to, if you have a partner, a life partner, just for lack of better words, and they're upset that you're just playing video games all the time. there is a balance you need to strike, but they can be upset that you're streaming all the time too. Somebody said earlier in the chat that their spouse or their partner was like, well, you're just playing video games all the time, not realizing that streaming actually is a lot more than that. And it's more fulfilling than just sitting down and playing through a video game, for sure. Hanging out with people, meeting new people, and getting to play your favorite stuff is like, it's got way more value. And if you're doing something like playing music and your friends are against that, then it can be really difficult. So,
Yeah. I mean, like with anything, it's just streaming on Twitch is a thing you enjoy doing. So people just like try to get in the way of that or any other thing you just enjoy doing. It just feels upsetting. It's
Well, I
kind
think
of annoying.
I think too that there's some stereotypes, right? I mean,
Yeah.
if you're like a new peruser of Twitch and you go right into the front page, you see some streamers that maybe don't resonate with the type of content that some medium and smaller streamers make, and it can be off-putting for certain people, right? But I think sometimes people will stereotype or stigmatize the platform as a whole, so that education is kind of needed for those people to understand that it's not just angry people playing Fortnite and women doing womensy things, which
Sure.
is totally fine,
Sure.
right? But if it's not the content that you're creating, they may not know that, right?
Yeah. Well, because they hear about it on like through Facebook and Twitter and stuff, and Twitter is only ever angry at everything that happens on Twitch. So
So much hate, I know.
it's either ninjas moving back and forth from Mixer, or people are in hot tubs chatting with other people. Like that's it. Outside of people who are actually on Twitch.
It's kind of interesting that people understand that YouTube is like full of a bunch of like a variety of content, but Twitch is so it's not seen that way still, even though there's a lot of different kinds of streamers and a lot of different kinds of content that's out there. So
yeah, live streaming is one of those things. I think a lot of people don't realize how new it really is still. That like, it's an art format or a show format or whatever you want to call it. That's just so new. The people doing it don't even know how to describe what it is,
Yeah.
because you don't want to boil it down to I play video games on Twitch. It's just not true. In fact, most of what you're doing is meeting people, new people, and hanging out. It's like even busking is nothing like if you're sitting on the street corner, you're playing guitar for people. You're not really meeting people. You're just like, it's like you're just shoving art in people's face and hoping they put money in a case. This is totally different. You form relationships with people, friendships. It's very strange. It's a very strange medium. Even just
Yeah.
Discord itself is hard to describe to those same people.
Right.
You're like most of my friendships and relationships are happening through this thing called Discord
Yeah.
and Twitch, which
yeah,
is
because it's not. I think a lot of people consider Discord like social media, kind of, but it's not.
it's
But
social.
it's more than like
It's-
more than a messaging app, but not social media. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like all
'Cause,
the
like-
good things about DMing and calling and like a text message, all that stuff, and then we're using Discord right now to do this.
Yeah.
It's a
I
crazy
mean, I
thing.
remember like when the first year of COVID or whatever, we would do family meetings through Google Hangouts and stuff like that. And I tried to get them to all move over to Discord, and that was a huge pain because none of them understood what was going on, and it's so simple and straightforward, but it's just hard to explain for some reason.
Mm-hmm. Oh man. So we were kind of on the topic of dealing with negativity from people. I don't think anybody here has a person that's like directly like in a partnership where they're like, don't stream, right? And you're not fighting anything like that. I know this happens on Twitch though, a lot. I've seen a lot of streamers struggle with having somebody that's just totally against you streaming, and that's a difficult place to be in. And that's even it's a difficult place for any of us to even give advice on or to talk about. It, I kind of just feel bad for those people. And I hope
Yeah,
you figure it out.
that's a really like ingrained relationship problem, right?
Yeah,
And
that's not
Yeah.
strictly Twitch. That's a
no,
lot of
if it
stuff.
wasn't Twitch, it'd be something else most likely, right?
Right.
And I think people really do struggle with understanding relationships, if that makes sense. Where if you're in a relationship with someone, it's not just about the two of you, right? And I think people struggle with that idea. It's about you living parallel lives and enriching your own lives, but also enriching it with the other person too. So it's finding that love and support for something that you're like, I don't really get it, but if it's making you happy and it's not hurting anybody, then I support that. And sometimes that's a really hard relationship boundary to hit, and a communication point to hit. And I certainly don't do it perfectly, because it takes work.
Yeah.
It's difficult to realize that you're not the only person or the only thing in someone's life, and allow yourself to also be able to do things outside of that loved one's life too.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
you're right. It's indicative of something else that needs to be fixed. If they're probably not telling you don't stream. They're probably telling you spend more time with me, right? Like,
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
we need to
Sometimes-
Ultimately.
Sometimes I'll be on the computer like all day, like 18 hours, and then I'll look around at Kat and be like, "Oh, I haven't talked to you yet today," and then I'll feel bad.
Like it's kind of interesting how we have it set up, because my workspace and his computer and where I like watch TV and stuff is literally all the same room. So we're
Yeah.
like always like with each other, but we're just not necessarily talking to each other. Like maybe I'm working and he's streaming, or maybe I'm watching TV while he's doing whatever over here, drawing or something.
Yeah, so it's
So-
more about finding the right balance between just everything in life, making sure you give enough
Yeah.
time. Having alone time is actually really important too in a relationship. Like,
For sure.
and streaming is not alone time.
No.
Alone time. There was something I saw recently where I guess there was a study. I don't know. I'll find it and I'll link it if I can in the notes. But all you really need to reset is 15 minutes alone, and not on your phone, not on Discord, not in social media. Just like 15 minutes by yourself. This is why I like walking too. Like
Yeah.
I get to be just in my own head, take a walk. 15 minutes will just help you reset. And this is true if like you're arguing with somebody and you're in a bad mood. You can literally just like fix all of that with a 15-minute alone time session. And this can be really hard, I think, for streamers to kind of figure out where that fits in. Because you want to start your stream on time. It's so important to have a schedule.
Wait, we're supposed to do that?
You want, but you don't anyway, right?
I don't know anything about it.
But like
But
in
you
your
want to.
head, instead of taking 15 minutes to be alone before you stream so that you're in the right headspace for streaming, you rush into streaming because the schedule is so important. It's like an excuse not to do it. And it almost would be better for you to be 15 minutes late to your stream so that you're like in the right headspace. You took that moment to get clarity, to clear your, hormones and emotions wherever they're at. Give yourself that reset. I think a lot of streamers, if I were to give one-on-one advice with somebody who's having frustrations, other than maybe they need a break, like an actual break from streaming, which is another thing that's difficult to do. Especially if your partner's like, I want you to take a week off of that, and a lot of that could kill a lot of streams, or you might feel like it's going to kill your stream, which is scary enough to not do it. So like balancing your life, balancing these situation of I'm a streamer with your own personal health, your own mental health and well-being, and the well-being of your relationship with other people, especially a partner. This is tough. This is probably the part of streaming that doesn't really get talked about. This is the thing. These are almost the negative sides of streaming. Is streaming is number one, in my opinion at least, incredibly addictive. And there's something about it that makes you want to go back, turn that stream on, and do the next stream. There's this excitement. It's like it's very addictive, and it can make it difficult to balance, your life. So how do you guys, Meets? I want you to talk about this because I know you struggle and have things in your life that make it difficult for you to find this balance.
Well, I probably stretch myself really thin. I have a full-time job, I have a child, I have a partner who I've been with for over a decade, who's incredibly supportive and wonderful, and I think hanging out in chat today too, but I know we're going on YouTube as well. But it's realizing how to balance things that, takes some trial and error, and it takes self-kindness too. And I think part of it as well, as a mental health professional too, is remembering that social support is incredibly important for your mental well-being, right? We need to learn coping skills for our resiliency. We need to have good social support. And for the vast, vast majority of people, that includes physical social support, someone who is physically there for you. And because internet social support is this instant gratification, it doesn't take a lot of mental work. It's low risk, but also low reward in a lot of ways. So that sometimes because it feels easier, to go on the internet and have people give you a thumbs up, we sometimes neglect our personal relationships because even though they're more rewarding in a lot of ways, streaming's great. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But personal, true, physical, intimate relationships are so incredibly important for the vast, vast majority of people, but they take a lot more work. So what happens, I think, again, this is my experience, is that people need more and more of that internet social support to feel fulfilled, and then they start neglecting their personal, day-to-day intimate social support, which breaks down over time, right? So balancing that is so incredibly important, but also really, really difficult, right? And it takes a lot of trial and error. It takes finding a good relationship. It takes working and compromising and sacrificing certain things at certain times to keep that relationship going. And that's really hard. That's why a lot of people in entertainment don't maintain really good relationships.
Yeah,
It's true.
that's that's almost a whole other topic, but it's not because I don't think a lot of streamers realize that they're in the entertainment industry. I guess like that's what this is to a degree.
Well, by the same token that like when we were talking about people, it's hard to describe Twitch to people and that it's so new. Like it's the same on the streamer's end. Like it's new and like people don't know how to quantify it yet. Even the people who are succeeding sometimes. Like what is it?
Yeah, what is a streamer?
Yeah.
And I don't think I think we have more questions than we have answers, to be honest. In this,
but
and I think the answers we do have are weak at best most of the time, because we're still kind of discovering how this all impacts everything. Like, there's negative things about streaming that we don't even realize yet. There's like long-term impacts on being a streamer and things that are it's going to take years and years and years before we realize, and there's stuff that's pretty obvious, I think, from the beginning, like don't sit for 12 hours straight. It's like 7 days a week, which is really easy to do as a streamer.
Yeah,
It's
it's really
very,
easy to fall down these rabbit holes because there are no like the rules are very loose on how to conduct a lot of this stuff. So like there's no union or anything, like nothing nowhere we can reference to
the
like
support
know.
group.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to get
You have
to.
to
Yeah.
you have to create your own structure,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's sometimes really, really hard to do.
Yeah, it's all on you, for sure. Like,
And that's doing it right is difficult because the relationships typically require that you account for more than yourself. And that's, it can be really easy if you're just by yourself. But then you get, if you get stuck, like how do you, if you become like a successful streamer and you're doing something like weird and unique on your stream, you know, it can be difficult for you to be like, how do I introduce this to my next girlfriend or boyfriend? Like, how do I tell them what I'm doing? Like, are they even gonna enjoy it? And, you know, it could become a source, like something you love can suddenly become a source of concern for your relationships, even when you don't have one yet. So balance is really important. And trying to navigate this space of being a streamer, it is, don't feel bad. First thing I'll say is don't feel bad or upset that you don't have the answers. None of us really have all the answers, but don't give up because you don't have the answers. Like, try to figure this stuff out, and try to create a healthy life balance with your relationships. You know when you're streaming too much because people will tell you, and you'll feel it. And sometimes streaming too much has other negative impacts, like it's not going to help you grow your stream. Sometimes you think I need to stream 40 hours a week, but it's just too much. Your current viewers are just, they can't watch you that long. And it's hurting you from a discoverability standpoint because you have 10 viewers for 2 hours and then the other 5 you have 3. So, you know, you'd be better off taking that time and trying to find other people to make other content with, going for a walk, taking those 15-minute breaks, eating right, all that kind of stuff, like getting your life together, than just hoping that the other 5 hours you're streaming that one person follows. Like, so really trying to find a balance here is incredibly important. I want to shift the conversation to the next, like the number 2 big topic of this session, which is going to be about the direct relationship as if you co-stream. And this is not just about streaming. Like, Hylian Pickles and Earthbound Isle both stream together. They have this thing that they produce like on a regular basis where the both of them are on stream together. But this is a co-stream. Right now, the 4 of us are all making a thing together. And so the things that I think we're going to talk about will be somewhat applicable across boundaries, where it's not just going to be about a marriage relationship or a life partnership, a boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, that level. The intimate relationships, there's probably stuff here that will go into your friendships too, and like balancing having a relationship with other people who are also streamers and co-creators. So, but I do want to kind of dig in a bit on the relationship side. I get to talk about both, which is fun, but both experiences. So I'm going to kind of like moderate a bit with this. Meets is going to be able to talk a little bit more about what it's like to be in a relationship with somebody as you're the main streamer, you're constantly on stream, and your partner comes in once in a while and is somewhat like pokes their head in kind of thing. And Earthbound Isle and Pickles are going to be able to talk about streaming together and how that impacts their relationship. So let's start with Earthbound Isle and Hylian Pickles. You've both actually streamed. Well, actually, let me ask, Earthbound, have you streamed by yourself, or has it always 100% of the time been as a co-stream?
It's always been a co-stream, yeah.
So you don't have any experience
no
by yourself on camera. Is that
No.
Is that by design or just by happenstance?
Yes.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of it is social awkwardness.
Yeah.
Another part of it is being a female on the internet. There are a few factors as to why I'm at least always there as like some sort of buffer, or someone to help her with conversation, or just like not zoning out too hard or stuff like that. Because she's very much the type of person who, when she gets focused on something, like hours can go by and she won't notice.
Yeah,
So-
it's true. Yeah.
That's me too. I get there. So, how's it been with you two as streaming? Like your experience. I'll start. That's too general. Let me start more specific. What are the negative things about like being, a couple on stream Do you guys have any experiences with negative reactions from people, viewers, chat?
There was one person a long time ago when we were first starting out who just didn't like the dynamic of our relationship and wanted to whisper it to us to say, like, explain why he didn't like the dynamic of our
Yeah.
relationship and that he was going to not watch us anymore. But because we had her whispers from strangers disabled or whatever, he put it in chat. So, I mean,
That was a little
that
interesting.
was a little awkward. It was a little weird just to, like,
It's
out of
interesting.
nowhere, like, hey, this stream had a lot of potential to have a really extra supportive, like, giant bomb type feel to it, but the way you guys talk down on each other sometimes, which we do as a joke, is not for me.
So they didn't even get it.
So yeah, so I'm leaving.
Right, and
Thank
that
you.
But
because you don't
Oh,
have
that's loud.
the most ideal relationship to that viewer, that one person,
yeah,
that
Yep.
now it's become like a reason not to watch your stream, and that's unfortunate. You're probably always going to have to deal with criticism over your relationship, and
yeah.
whose relationship is 100% perfect or not playful? Like, what
Yeah.
if you don't have a relationship where you can joke and like tease each other? What is that?
I don't remember exactly, but I think they thought that you were being like,
Overly critical.
yeah, overly critical of me, but I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, so if I don't care, why do you care? Kind of thing. But I understand. And
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Well, there's also, like, just Kat and I know each other differently than anybody else is gonna know us. So, like, I know when she gets frustrated, she'll snap. Like, she'll
Yeah.
talk sharply. But I know she's not mad at me, so I'm not gonna react defensively. Like, she's just mad in general,
Yeah.
right?
Mm,
And so, like,
yeah.
and
Not
I
the
understand
best.
how some people could watch that and be like, "Oh no, mom and dad are fighting," but
Oh yeah, I had that one a
it's not
lot.
the case at all. Because very quickly, like, as soon as the frustrating part of the game is over, like, we're both moved on and everything is, like, normal again, you know?
Mm-hmm. That
But
can be
I can
difficult.
see, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
What about positive side? You guys are streaming together. Has it been mostly a positive reaction from your community and the people you're meeting?
Yeah, I think so, for the most part.
So
I
most people
mean,
get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
most people just don't
Most
even
people
really
get
say anything, honestly. Maybe we'll get asked if we're in the same room
Are you in the
together,
same
or
room?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got that one a lot too.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I
Or
mean,
like,
like,
yeah.
because I stream alone earlier in the day and then we stream together later in the evening, people see me on my own and then they see me with her and then they'll be like, well, they poke a lot more fun at me because Kat's so stoic and interesting.
Interesting
And
is
I'm
a
just
word.
like the goofball guy. So like, for example, when we eat the spicy beans, she doesn't really react, and people like watching her just take it like a champ, and I sit there like with the worst faces and stuff, just falling apart.
It's good contrast, you know.
Yeah, it does create a contrast between us for a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's been a positive experience overall. Like, it's nice to just like actually take the time to play games together. Like, we don't
Yeah.
always get to.
That's another thing, like the interpersonal relationship just between us, like, just being busy as we are, we don't get to play together as much anymore. So
Mm.
this
It's like
creates an
good
outlet for
excuse
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
to spend time together. Do you
Yep.
Yeah.
do you feel like your time on stream is as valuable or it has a different value from like if you were to sit down and watch a movie together or something?
I think it has a different value.
I think it's different, but not in like a negative way. Like, when you're watching a movie together, you don't really talk or interact with anything.
Okay, well, what if you
And
were talking and not like the
Yeah,
movie didn't matter?
that's fair.
Well, I mean, there's like we'll take the dog on a walk and we'll have different kinds of conversations on the walk than we will if we're both sitting down watching a TV show.
Right.
Like, and those are different conversations than when we're streaming and putting on a show and hanging out with everybody else together, you know?
Yeah.
Like
So
there's different spaces for each part of our relationship that we purposefully try to take time to make sure we get those moments in outside of streaming.
that's what I was gonna ask. Do you guys
Yeah.
have? You don't just say, "Oh, I'm on stream," and that's enough. Like, and then that
Yeah.
that was time together. So that you make sure that there's non-stream time that is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I would say, yeah, being together on stream is like being together in public, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's true.
Like it's not quite the same as just like hanging out at home.
Yeah. It's hard to cuddle and be under a blanket and like
Yeah.
Yeah. I get.
Well,
I
like you
get
said,
that
it's
too.
like entertainment. Like
Yeah.
you gotta talk about different things, talk more, interact with people. So it's just like a different situation.
Yeah, so I was gonna just bring this up because I want people to kind of think about this, that if you are streaming in a relationship, which is more of a rare thing, but even if it's like roommates and friendships and stuff, like and you're streaming together, like you want to make sure you have that balance and those kind of, you don't want to just replace your regular life with a stream version of it, which is
Yeah.
kind of a risk. It almost looks like that's what's going on at the upper end of Twitch. If you look at the streams, these like massive streams where like two streamers are
like
in a relationship, it's almost like they're in,
Everybody with like 10K viewers is all living in the same house, and
Yeah.
they're always
they're all
live.
always on. Yeah.
And then you can like I watched a video the other day of somebody who was playing a game and he was raging, and then like it was cut to somebody else who's also a huge streamer in that house listening to him rage. Like it was a funny video, but like just that whole idea, like he's just like, I hear him, he's blowing his lid right now in the other room, and then it cuts back to him actually blowing his lid in the other room, and they're all like huge streamers. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, there's no lines.
Yeah, it's definitely important that you keep a balance of an off-stream relationship, and that becomes probably the most important. You're not going to be able to sustain your relationship if you don't prioritize it, and it becomes a risk. I think it also becomes more of a risk when you're becoming more successful because the temptation is to stream more, and
yeah.
because it's working. And the more that it works, the more you kind of are tempted to sacrifice. And that's true, I think, for any relationship, even if you're not co-streaming. Right? Like, Meats, you could probably talk about this. Like, if your stream took off and you were tempted to stream more and more and more, that would be hard for you to do right now. You barely have time to stream your current schedule, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
how do you guys feel like is the best way to kind of advise people to strike this balance between being a streamer and having partners?
I
And-
think
I
it's
think. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead,
No, I
Meats.
Yeah. I think a lot of it is finding that, open communication, realizing that, there is that balance, and making sure that when your partner comes in and is like, I need this, like I need this tonight. Or, we have this night that is dedicated to us, being really committed to that, and realizing that it's really important to do that, but also asking of your partner to realize that sometimes, sorry, he's actually like standing right here. Sorry, but actually realizing that.
What do you mean?
Stop it. There are times where you, as the streamer, might need some give from your partner too, right? So there are some nights where I go late because I'm really into it, and there's like raids that happened, and not allowing that to happen every night, but making sure that your partner knows that happens sometimes, and having that kindness towards it. But also, I think what's important is to remember that you have to figure out how you want to present your relationship online too, right? And I think that's a really big challenge, especially as a female presenting streamer. And Earthbound, I think you can probably speak to that too, is how do you present that relationship in a way that's authentic and real, but not off-putting, but balanced, that's sometimes I think really, really challenging too.
That's a tough one. I wonder if most people even think about that, or if they just turn their stream on and hope it's all good and that's
You wanna
enough.
just
Hope for the
hold
best.
Um, yeah, I think being a female streamer, that's almost a whole other topic. But you guys have more of experience, I guess, that you could talk about being female streamers. I can only talk about my experience. I'm not a female streamer, so but I did stream with my ex, and I did kind of see how she was treated. And I don't think having a guy, if you're a female streamer and you're thinking having a guy on stream is going to curb some of the trolls or the negative activity that happens through this stream, that's not true. You're still gonna get people.
It's not the best. It's not the best filter, but it does work sometimes. Like I've gotten up for like 10 or 15 minutes because I needed to go take care of something, and then I'd come back and I'd see like a string of chat because Kat was alone for that, and then as soon as I come back, that person is gone.
Interesting.
They're like, nah.
Yeah, but there
Interesting.
are some people that don't care. For sure.
Yeah, it just lets the brave trolls come out.
That's true.
Yeah,
The brave
Don't
ones
call them
still
brave.
come
That
out.
sounds too positive. It's like-
Reckless.
Bravery is not always a good quality.
emboldened ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's true. I've even had negativity happen that probably didn't feel like the person doing it didn't think they were being negative, but like people trying to command us to kiss, you know,
Yeah.
like
That's just
Weird.
weird.
That's weird.
you guys can kiss. You guys kiss. Go kiss. It's like you wouldn't do this in real life. Like why?
Or would
Yeah,
you?
it's not like we're at a wedding or something. You don't just tell people to like PDA in front of
Yeah.
strangers.
that's super
just strange.
awkward.
And everybody has different levels of what they're comfortable with. So it's like, yeah. And like you said, it's more like being in public. Like that's not something. So, oh man, now Kith, yeah.
Well, we've had somebody like start with, "Are you guys in the same room?" And then the next question immediately was like, "You guys should kiss."
Yeah.
Like, it was weird.
Why is that a thing? Who is doing this?
True. Yeah, that's a difficult one, especially if it's a long-term viewer who's suddenly like acting funny, or like you're like, wait, why are you acting like this all of a sudden? There's also some like pitfalls here. So I guess I'm the only one who can kind of talk on this subject because it happened to me. But I know other streamers, a handful of other streamers that kind of had a similar experience where the stream was a part of the breakup. Not like the reason. Maybe it was the reason for you or for someone else. But streaming, if you're new to streaming and it's something you enjoy, it does take up a lot of time. And it can lead to the relationship ending. Maybe because it changes you and they don't like those changes. Or maybe you're going to break up anyway because the stream is a good excuse. You know, it happens all over the place. So I think, you know, you can as a streamer make all the right decisions and still have your relationship end. And this isn't just going to impact you. Like obviously a breakup is hard for, you know, it should, if it was a good relationship, at least breakups aren't easy. But
Yeah.
when, like, if you two were to break up, and I hope that you don't, but if you were, and let's say you had your community is mostly formed around the two of you streaming together, that would be a very negative thing in my community because my entire stream was built around my ex and I streaming together. And when she was suddenly not there anymore, it was like, what is this? I don't know this stream anymore. And some people were even completely heartbroken. Like,
Yeah.
they saw us as like the family or something, like, and it was very, very hard on them. So this goes beyond just you in a lot of ways. You can break your viewers' hearts too. So you know, this is a really tough situation for any streamer to be in. My heart
Yeah.
goes out to
Well-
people who have had to have their relationships go south because of
Yeah.
streaming or in regards to streaming. So
If you're streaming with your partner, your breakup is a part of the stream as much as your relationship was, and so it's not just your guys' breakup; it's chat's breakup too.
Yeah.
Because now one of those people is also missing from their lives going forward. Like, because we've talked about it on a previous podcast, the amount of like intimacy that things like YouTube and Twitch create between the people on screen and the people typing in comments and chats and stuff. Like, there's a sense of familiarity and like a friendship, familial, all those kinds of senses. So when something happens to like you or to me or to Meets, like it happens to everybody, right? As soon as they find out.
right, and then you
Like,
get like
yeah.
in any relationship, if people break up, you get people who pick sides, and they're like,
Yeah.
don't talk to the one partner, and then or they don't talk to you, or they whatever. That can happen with your stream too. So I guess there's just risks involved, and because this is such a weird thing, streaming is so weird. It's hard to predict. It's impossible to predict how your relationships are going to actually impact your stream and how your stream is going to impact your relationships. So what I think everybody needs to do is pay attention, keep their eyes open. Make sure that your partner is responding well to what you're doing. Communication is really the big thing. Make sure you're talking. That way, if you do break up, at least it was easy, right? Because you're talking about it. It's not a surprise. So it's a really tough space to navigate, and it's not something you should ignore. I think you ignore it at your own peril, and you're put yourself in a more difficult position if you just hope and expect all your decisions are right, and you live by your gut or something like that. So again, it goes back to just balance.
A lot of what we're talking about isn't exclusive to streaming. Like, replace the word
No, it's
streaming
not.
with anything.
Yeah,
Anything
hobby.
that
Yeah.
takes time, and then it still applies. Like, just
Your
carving
job.
out, yeah. Like, especially if streaming is like as a job is a goal for you. Like, these things all still apply the same way. Like, what am I trying to say?
I think you said it well, actually. That this is not just
Yeah.
streaming. Streaming isn't special
Yeah.
where you get to ignore your relationships.
Yeah, it's always important to keep real life, as a priority.
But that's actually the last little bit topic that I wanted to get into was how do you prioritize streaming? Like, not just streaming, but relationships. Like, where do the priorities sit and why? And what's the most important thing for you? Well, I'll start with Earthbound. Tell us how. I mean, you've kind of got streaming as like an appendage, right? Like,
Yeah.
so
I'm more of like I do it more as a hobby.
Right.
Like I don't intend to make this my full-time job or quit my job or anything. So for me personally, I think that streaming would fall below like my relationships and also my day job. So if like something came up and I had a friend that needed me to go do something urgently and I was supposed to stream, I would cancel stream to go help them. Or if something came up at work and it couldn't wait, then I would do that instead of stream. But it's more just something that I do for fun. So that's why my opinion is that it's kind of a lower priority than maybe
Right.
other people think. But
not number one, and I don't think streaming
Yeah.
should be number one priority. But
For
maybe
sure.
maybe someone has a different opinion on that. But
There was a point recently where she had to take like 2 or 3 months off of streaming just because work for her picked up a lot, and so obviously streaming is gonna go away if the other things take up more time.
so how do you
Just for
prioritize then?
for my own sanity.
Yeah, well, so then your sanity is way up on the list compared to being
Oh,
a
for sure.
streamer. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good place to put sanity. Yeah.
It's probably work, mental health, people streaming.
It
Where
depends
where
on
are
the
you on
people.
that list though, Pickles?
It depends on the people because like I would put like Ty and my family probably above like casual acquaintances, obviously, you know.
Fair.
So, but like if you needed me to do something instead of streaming, I would do that.
Well, yeah.
So you're where do you put your relationship? Because it's tied in with the stream a little bit. So, where does the priority of your relationship fall?
Number one.
Number
Yeah.
one.
First
That's
first
good-
thing,
good place
because
for it.
we spend 24 hours of every day together for the rest of our lives. And so the most important thing is that we're happy.
That's an enjoyable
that I'm
experience.
Yeah, I'm doing things to, at the very least, not upset her.
That's
Right.
actually pretty unique in the even in the streaming space for people to spend that all their time together. You know,
Yeah.
that's a very difficult thing for a lot of people to do. I did that too. It didn't work very well for me. So you guys keep it up if it's working. But
Well, our background before all that, just coming into a relationship with each other, is we're very fortunate to have reached a point where we know how to communicate what's most important and stuff with each other, and we've been able to translate that into building our schedule, building our life together and stuff like that. Like, we intentionally schedule time together in the middle of all of the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like, not simply like putting date night, but like this is putting free time in is just as important as putting in like start stream here, start drawing this here, do that there. Like, it's important to throw together time and free time and stuff in as much as anything else.
Do you guys have a schedule like that? Like a straight up, you know where everything's gonna be?
I do.
Yeah, I kind of play it by ear.
Yeah.
Like I know when I work and I know when I need to do certain things throughout the day, but I don't like to book myself completely.
Mm.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people just, that's what they do. They just don't book themselves completely and leave the rest open. But I think when you do that, it means that stuff is allowed to leak in. Whereas I don't like leave something open. I fill it intentionally with the phrase free time so that I am not allowed to let other stuff leak into it.
Do you feel like it's been difficult at all to prioritize like this, or has it just been pretty easy?
It's got its challenges, I would say. Because sometimes, like, if things get added or removed or changed around and stuff like that, I need to reprioritize my list of things, because then I start falling behind in other places. Like, it starts to, yeah, you know.
Yeah, I got you. So what about you, Meats? How do you prioritize your life in this way?
Probably not as well as I hope I do. I like to think about it more dynamically, I guess you could say. So there's a famous author who talked about this, and gosh, I cannot remember the person's name, but they talk about it as like juggling balls, right? And stay with me. Some of the balls are rubber, and some of them are glass, right? And I think it's important to be reflective on which balls are glass and cannot be dropped, and which ones can be dropped and bounce back, right? So some are steel, maybe, yeah, perhaps. But you know, I do think that family, or at least what you consider to be your family, should be in the glass category, right? At most times. And sometimes things have been going really well, and maybe you can focus on other things a little bit more heavily. But, you know, realizing what you can afford to let bounce versus what's going to break if you drop it is like such a lifelong struggle for everybody, frankly. You know, and I think that there's times in my life where my career was really important, and then family became more important for a while. Maybe finances were really important for a while. Mental health became really important for a while. So just always trying to think about what what the best juggling that I can do is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's I don't know, it's a metaphor that I really like and
Yeah.
I think about a lot.
Yeah, I think for me, it became kind of muddy. If I were to use that analogy, I'd say I felt like I was prioritizing things, but I was actually sacrificing certain areas because it felt like I was prioritizing properly or juggling. The glass ball, I thought became rubber. You know, it could
Yeah.
handle a drop. Um, and or I felt like I was juggling the glass ball properly, but I really dropped it and didn't realize because it wasn't clear. It wasn't clear that the ball was being dropped. Because sometimes I think, especially if you're streaming with other people, it can feel like that's fulfilling parts of the relationship. Like you're good. You can just stream all the time, and you can just that's enough. That's quality time together. If you make it into quality time, it is quality time, and that's a dangerous way to look at things because there's two of you.
Absolutely. Yeah, and so you're different. You're a different person when you stream. And like as much as we like to be like I'm authentic, you are a different person when you stream. And there's a certain energy that's going to be different. It's like when you go on a double date with someone, you're not typically bringing everything with you, right? You want to put your face out as a positive face. And it's not always going to bring up the negative stuff because that gets really awkward if you do that, right? Unless you guys are really, really close. It's almost like you're on a double date with chat, right? So you have to go home after the double date and talk about the date and take a bath or do whatever because the double date was fun, but it's also work because you're showing your relationship off to someone, right? And
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, you're slightly different on stream. Period.
Oh yeah. It's still probably authentic, but it's authentic you in front of people.
Yeah,
It's
we
not
have multiple
authentic you
selves,
alone.
right? And sometimes we
Yeah.
struggle to realize that our self at different times is different. We're not being ourselves, but we're being a different version of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the quantum physics experiment. It's being watched, so it's different. So I mean, I think that I like the juggling analogy. I think that's a good way to kind of describe it because there's this active like attention that's needed, especially if you're actually juggling. You can't it's not a multitask experience, and you really do need to try to make sure that it's the glass balls that you're juggling are actually being taken care of first and not being dropped. And at the same time, if you do drop one, you need to figure out how to repair that, I guess. Because none of us are perfect. This isn't an easy thing to do. If you're a brand new streamer, and your stream seems to be a really positive thing for you, but a really negative thing for your partner, there obviously you need to have that discussion. You need to figure that out together. And I wouldn't just continue to stream and stream and stream and hope that they get it someday. You're gonna have to put the work in and try to make
Yeah.
sure that you're both on the same page with this. Was
The
it?
conversation probably isn't about streaming, right? Like you said earlier, it's probably like I just need you to spend more time with me.
Yeah.
The
Um,
conversations
And you
are
need to put
important.
that work in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not just gonna fix itself.
Yeah.
Need to
Does
for your own well-being. Nothing else.
streaming ever feel like it's threatening other parts of your guys' lives?
Yeah.
I would say no. For me personally.
Oh, hold on, cat.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay, all right. Yeah. So, you said yes, Meats. So
Yeah.
that's where you're trying to make sure things are in balance, right?
Yeah.
When you get that
absolutely.
feeling.
And kind of making that mistake sometimes of like pushing myself too hard when I really should be diverting my attention, and it's that learning process of finding that balance. And like maybe this time of year, because there's a lot of stuff going on in my life, I do have to step away a little bit, and that's okay, because it's going to, in the long run, benefit my life more than making sure that I stream 4 days a week.
Yeah.
And that's a hard lesson to learn.
It is.
Yeah,
Streaming is
you're
addictive.
you're definitely not a failure. Like if you have to not stream for some reason,
Mm-hmm.
especially if it's to take care of yourself or a relationship or anything that you think is important. Like don't feel like it's a failure just because you couldn't do it.
And you can
Ultimately,
get
taking
better.
that time. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, mistakes are proof that you're trying, right?
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Well,
for sure.
there is no try. There's only
Do or do
there's
not.
only there's only failure and success. But failure is the road towards success in most cases. So yeah, if you're failing, that's a chance for you to succeed, to turn that around. Trying, it doesn't exist, but we all have to deal with relationships. You don't want to. First of all, I think it'd be very dangerous to the human, to just have only a stream relationship where all the people in your life are chat, right? I think that would be it would be very, very, very rare that there is a person that is mentally healthy and stable that their entire life is being live and hanging out with people on chat, and that's it. And that's every relationship. They have no other relation. Everyone else is just a stranger at the grocery store, and I think that would be a dangerous place to end up. I don't recommend that path.
Well, people will talk about like the 5 love languages or whatever, and it's not like one of those is the only thing, right? It's like a gradating.
Yeah,
There's
I understand.
like, there's the number 1 and then there's number 2, but like both
They're
are
both love
important,
language. Yeah.
Yeah. So like having all relationships tied in like a singular dynamic, that's not something that's healthy for anybody. Like people will want this thing, but they'll also want this thing over here to feel fulfilled socially.
Yeah.
So,
So
like just putting everything in one basket is never a good idea anyway.
yeah, I just think you need to keep yourself open to having more than your chats and streams relationship. It can be a priority. It can for sure, your stream can for sure be a priority in your life. But
Oh yeah.
making it a bigger priority to be live and have relationships with people in chat than your own partners and family is dangerous. And it can be really easy to avoid, especially if you have toxic family members or you don't have a good relationship with your family. For those of you who are streaming at home, you don't like your parents very much or something, or you don't get along. This is also true. Like you need to be careful of those relationships and not replace. Chat and stream is not a place to replace real relationships. And it's I think a lot of streamers will use streaming as an escape,
Yes.
and that's dangerous. And this is kind of the
Yes.
last thing that I wanted to wrap up with is, stream is not an escape. It's not your place to get a bunch of dopamine hits to make yourself feel good because the rest of your life sucks. Because that's just going to be toxic. You're going to end up toxic eventually on stream. You're not gonna be someone people enjoy. You're not gonna be a good influence on people. You're not gonna enjoy yourself. This is just road to depression. So, be very careful with using stream as a escape. And what do you guys think about this? Meets, you seem like you wanted to chime in. So
Yeah, no, I 100% agree, and it's so easy to do. Like I said, it's low risk, low reward, but you can do it over and over again. Right? And that's where the escapism is. I mean, video games in and of themselves have an escapism. The internet has a sense of escapism because you're kind of pulled out of reality a little bit. So it's an easy thing to do. Right? It's accessible, it's easy, you turn on the computer and you got it. But it doesn't help you necessarily, if that's the only thing you do, fulfill your life, enrich yourself in that sense. Absolutely. I also, though, I wanted to say, Snazzy's not here tonight, and I don't know if we really said why.
Oh,
Snazzy is not here
I,
because he's
yeah,
also balancing
yeah.
life and stream.
This is the very reason. Yeah, he's making a decision to prioritize his relationship, and give his partner space to do what she needs to do, so that they get along and they have a
Yeah.
they have a good balance. Yeah, right. Snazzy's in chat. He could chime in if he wants. But yeah, it's really important that you, even if you're not streaming with someone else, your stream kind of needs to become a part of your partner's relationship in some way. I don't think it's a good idea to let the stream, if you're married or you have a partnership or whatever it is, to like not have your partner involved in what it is. They don't have to be on stream, but they definitely should be. Well, supportive is really the first step. If they're not really supportive, that's just going to be toxic. That's going to be very difficult for anyone to deal with. You have, I love this thing, but my partner hates it. That's really a dangerous place to be. But beyond that, you also want to make sure that you have, you include them in the decision making. That when you're streaming and when you're live, it's not just, it's not really only you. It's not just your thing. It's the two of you. Or if there's multiple people in the relationship, it's all of you. That can be a tough thing to balance. Actually, in my situation, as much as I try to include the people in my household or in people previously in my life, they didn't have enough of an interest to allow to become a part of it. And it actually can become a hindrance too, where like I'm in the middle of recording something like a YouTube video or a song or something, and there's all these lights on and like cameras and stuff. It's obvious I'm doing something, I'm on a microphone talking, and there's still a knock on the door and like, hey, we're going out. It's like, cool. I'm in the middle of something here, obviously. Like, those relationships can even become kind of hard to balance. So this is crazy topic. And I think we barely even scratched the surface of it, but
Well, one thing I think it might be important to at least circle back to is, Kat mentioned money, right?
oh yeah,
And I think that's actually a huge aspect in a lot of just relationships in general, is like arguing about money and fighting about money, because everybody needs it. We need to pay rent, we need to buy groceries, we need this, we need that, right? And it was, Kat is the breadwinner in this house, 100%. Like she makes way more money than I do, and she definitely carries like the larger expenses between us. But we've had many and plenty of conversations about the weight that she carries with that responsibility, and the position that she has afforded me. You know what I mean? Like she would tell me to get a better job and make more money if it was enough of a concern for us, but a lot of people don't communicate those kinds of things very well. So like, I don't know where I'm going with this, but
Communication is important.
communication is important. And we like the most contention we've ever had probably is conversations about money and the responsibility she feels. And like it's we're in a different place now than we were when those conversations were happening, and we do feel, leveled out. Like it's a fair amount of responsibility on each of us financially to do what we need to do.
That's
But, like,
true.
It's definitely been a conversation.
Streaming is not free, and
No.
it doesn't earn. Most streamers don't earn any kind of real income, let alone like a part-time jobs level of income, and it takes a lot of hours. So balancing that is important. Um, and
Yeah.
I do think the conversations always they need to be constant. I don't think it ever ends. You need to make sure you're always on the same page with this. Are you still okay? Funding my situation. Like somebody's always funding someone's situation. Even successful. A lot of successful streamers, um, like they're people we know that wouldn't be able to stream if they didn't have the situation that they're in. And that's thanks to the support of either family or friends or whatever it is. And even a stream itself is kind of funded by the community. Like it
Yeah.
exists because people are supporting it. There's always someone that's supporting it.
I think too, though, going beyond just financial. So I'm actually the primary breadwinner. So ladies, that's right.
Go ladies.
Ladies in the house. It's also the like mental workload too. So things like childcare, dishes, laundry, making sure that the animals are taken care of, whatever. I think balancing a lot of that too is really important because so my currency that I'm losing, if you will, is more time, right? Time for things that I don't enjoy. Like doing the dishes or folding laundry, right? So how do you try to balance that stuff? And, if your partner is able to share that workload as well, if time is really the currency that's getting challenged, that's just as much of a communication, just as much of a benefit. And I think, in our relationship, it was hard at first, but JJ has really stepped up to the plate, and it's made things a lot better when it comes to finding that time and currency balance too.
Yeah, this is where relationships are complicated because finances aren't the end of everything, and there's always going to be someone who makes more. Typically, typically one person makes a little bit more, and
You're just both of us just should be unemployed, so no
yeah,
one makes.
yeah.
There we go. We win.
And being a good partner as a streamer, if you're the person that's not the breadwinner, sometimes there are things you can do if you're not working. So clean the house. Like you said, give your partner more time. In my previous relationship, I was also not the breadwinner. I was, as a self-employed person, my income would spike suddenly because I'd get a contract, and then I would be the one who had more money for the month. But it was just that month, And then the next month, I have no money, and so I did my best to make sure the house is clean and like cat boxes, the animals are taken care of, all that stuff, like so that she didn't have to worry about that stuff. And so there are, like you said, there are ways to be, when you're in a relationship, to bring value beyond just money. Because dishes need to be done, food needs to be cooked, kids need to be watched. There's all kinds of stuff. So this is all stuff. This is where the communication, you as the streamer, you need to balance your life. You need to balance your decisions and try to find a relationship that works with your partner. If you are the breadwinner or if you're not the breadwinner, and figure out how the two of you can work together to make this work. And man, I don't want to. We could probably keep going for like another hour, and we're already pretty over our normal time slot. I know. So I'm just gonna wrap things up. If you guys have any final thoughts, my final thoughts are pretty simple. Take care of yourself. Communicate. And make sure that you're working on it together, and don't expect it to work out. That's what I'm gonna say. Pickles, do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
Don't let stream take over your life more than it should. Like, prioritize things in an effective way. Put the people who matter most at the top. Streaming should probably never be number one over anybody in your life. I would say
it's a risky place to put it. That's for sure. Earthbound?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna say what everyone else has said. That communication like the most important thing, and like I think a really big part of that is like getting buy-in from both parties. Like you don't have to see eye to eye 100%, but just like saying, okay, I understand, and like this is what I'm gonna do. This, if you could do this, that would make it easier for me, or whatever that conversation is. But just having good communication, check in often, and come to a compromise, I guess.
Meats?
If you're a human, you need to see humans in person sometimes.
If you're a human. Dogs are listening to this?
It's robots, you know,
Robots.
maybe that's arguable.
Aliens?
You cannot, the vast majority of people cannot replace one-on-one human connection with the internet. Okay. And no matter how hard you try, you'll be chasing that dragon. And you have to, if you don't have anyone right now, go find somebody, right? Go find a human that you resonate with. You need a human, at least one, for your
least.
own longevity, and foster those relationships. It takes work. Okay? You
Put the
can
work
do it.
in. Yeah.
Put the work in. You
Yeah.
can do it.
What a good podcast. That was great. It was a difficult topic, I think. There's a level of anxiety with all of this because we have to all share our personal experiences, and man, this is a
Very loaded topic.
yeah. I felt this is the one I felt like most eggshelly for me because it's like, I don't want to disparage relationships and streaming. I just want to encourage people to take care of themselves and to be thoughtful and mindful about what they're doing, especially in their relationships. So.
I mean, this all still
Stan,
comes down
Stan
to
in the
very
chat.
strategically
Yeah.
didn't participate today, right?
Yeah, this is a tough topic, and it's one I'd like to approach again with maybe some more people in the future. This is a good way to break the ice on the topic, and there's a lot of tough topics with streaming. To be honest, there's a lot of things that I'm apprehensive about talking about, but this is definitely one of the bigger ones where, because it's kind of sad actually that the stuff we really need to discuss, the stuff we really need to get out on the table, is the stuff that makes me want to be very careful about. Mental health, physical health, your well-being. These are the most important things in your life, and it's so much easier to just talk about how to hang out with chat and
OBS settings.
picking games and getting your lights right and all this other stuff. And it's that stuff's really easy. And these are the hard topics. And we're pretty much never going to be, like I said earlier, we're not done figuring this stuff out. This podcast isn't the end of the discussion. This is really the beginning of the discussion. And if you guys are watching this on YouTube, leave us some comments so that in the future, when we have these kinds of conversations, we know what to tackle. We know what to bring up and what you guys want to talk about. So I know a lot of people in the chat today had some stuff. This one might have been a better one for us to kind of include chat on a little bit. So maybe in the future we can kind of include chat more with these special episodes so that we can discuss that stuff. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Chad definitely brought up something important is, as a streamer partner, I guess, streamer's partner, listen, right? But don't just, nod your head, listen, actively listen. Absolutely.
yeah.
I always try
Make
to
sure
make
your partner feels heard and included in your journey.
always try to make
Include them.
yourself available for them.
Yeah. No, it's all about making them a part of it, even if they're not on camera, that they're there, that they're a part of why you're there. It's easier for your partner to support you if they actually are supporting you. They're being supportive and you're giving them space to do that. This can be actually a hard thing to do because I've had people where they're like, my spouse wants to support the stream and they're asking what they can do. And I'm like, what can they do? Can they watch the stream?
What do you want them to
Can
do?
they mod the stream? Can they
Yeah.
clean the house for you so you can stream more? What is it? So, yeah, this is a really, like I said, we could talk forever probably about this, and because the more we talk about it, the more comfortable we kind of become discussing the deeper crevices.
Yeah, more things we didn't think about
Very
will pop up.
nuanced.
It is. So again, I want to thank Meats and Earthbound. Thank you so much, and Pickles. You guys are great. This was a good conversation, and I look forward to getting into these topics more on the next podcast. We do these podcasts every Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific. So if you want to join in on the chat, it's live on Twitch. You can catch these episodes on your favorite podcasting app. You can also watch it on YouTube. Every week I'm doing YouTube videos, so if you guys want like advice on camera settings and lighting and where to put your stuff and how to make your stream a little bit better, you can check out those YouTube videos. If you want to join our community, infinitequality.live. That's where you start. So thank you guys again. I really appreciate everybody being here, and it's really insightful today. So I hope it was helpful to people who are watching, and we'll catch you next week. And thank you very much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.